Pulls up for three. Boom! Knocks it down.
Curry from the corner at Bray. Puts it in.
For overtime. Makes it. Garrett. Right.
Way up.
Welcome to the latest edition of the MVP cast with myself, Mark Woods. My guest is someone I've wanted to have on the podcast since the very, very start. He's one of the best point guards the UK's produced over the past decade, as well as a terrific ambassador for the game. He is the reigning MVP of the British Basketball League and the key force behind the treble chasing London Lions. He is, of course, Justin Robinson. Justin, welcome to the MVP cast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You guys, I said treble. I guess that must hurt a little bit, the fact you haven't got the quadruple on anymore. I don't want to dwell too much on that, but in that epic final in Glasgow, the trophy final against the Royals a few weeks ago, I know it must hurt a lot to be in the losing side to that, but have you watched it back, and what was it like to be in a game that we will be talking about for years to come?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely watched it back, and it does hurt, I think especially how we lost too, I place a lot of the blame on myself for having like a wild closeout, letting Ed Lucas get open, and he hit an amazing shot. And then obviously we went to overtime and we ended up losing. But yeah, it does hurt because as a team, we were chasing to try and just win everything, But I mean, at the same time, it's part of the game. These things happen. If players make mistakes, you got to take the good, with the bad. So it's one of those things where you just kind of take it on the chin and just keep it moving. In terms of like the game itself, I mean, so many people were speaking about it. People were sending us messages saying how amazing the game was. People watched it on TV in the States, other parts of Europe. So I'm just glad to be a part of it. And like you said, hopefully people will speak about this game years down the line.
After you won the cup final, I think I put it to you that how good this team is this season, and that doesn't happen very often. And yes, you can't get the clean sweep, but obviously getting the revenge against the Royals last week, Leicester losing, the league title is now within your grasp. And you've played in good teams in different countries, but when you have a chance to do something quite special, which would a league title for the Lions never happened before. Can you sort of step back from that and go, yes, we need to take this because I might never get this chance again?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, this is a chance that I might not get again. And us as a team, as an organization, we're having a great year. We've got some great guys, great players, and we really just have to take opportunity of the chance that we have, to make history, to give the Lions their first place finish or a regular season title. So, we can't take it for granted. We got to appreciate it, respect the game, respect other teams in the league, and just try and take it one game at a time and just not really get too far ahead of ourselves,
How much do you think basketball in London, and London specifically, needs this? Because you came back and yes, we've had great British players have come back to this country before. I suppose Kieran Achara is the one from a few years ago, but you were the first of this new wave, and people, your good friend Matthew Bryan Ammoning's talked about, you were the guy that's opened this door to players coming home. But obviously basketball's still pretty invisible in terms of at BBL level in London. I mean, how significant do you think it could be if you guys win a league title?
I mean, I think this will be huge. Already at the games, so many young kids, so many kids from schools all over London coming to the game. A bunch of kids from down at the Regal, kids from down at Brixton. I mean, it will mean something because I just think that it will just show these kids that, there is a high level of play here. There is an outlet here, a pipeline here where you can stay here and build, I'm all for kids going to the States, going to academies in Europe, but at the same time, I feel like if a kid has the opportunity to play at a BBL level or a team in London, I feel like it's our duty to show them, how it's done and to show them that they can stay home and still play at a high level, make some decent money, and have a chance to win too. So
Obviously, you got your degree at Rider University by going to the States, and obviously, the life experience of being in another country is always huge. But do you think there's any way that if you mix a club with university here, that you could replicate that at this point and get the same benefits that you got by going away?
I think so. I mean, obviously, it's not the same experience going to the States, and also experience in America as a whole. But I mean, if you give a young kid a chance to play at a high level and also, get their degree, then after that get their masters, like you said, it's kind of a replica of the whole American scholarship system, but also, it's giving them a chance to explore other options. I'm sure there may be things that they want to do off the court, maybe journalism, photography, marketing, across the board. So it's giving these kids an opportunity to play basketball at a high level, but also have something to fall back on and explore in the future. So, I mean, if they can do that successfully, I mean, that would be great. I'm sure you'll see a lot more kids staying home and, trying to make their road here.
America for you was such an opportunity, and it's a life-changing opportunity in a sense. And we all know about you playing for Brixton Top Cats as a junior, but also you grew up in Brixton, and it was several years after the riots that people all remember. People my age remember. You won't remember. You're too young.
Yeah.
What was it like by then?
At the time, growing up, you don't really realize the environment that you're growing up in. But Brixton had its problems. A lot of crime, violence, all that stuff. But at the same time, for me, it was home, and it still is home for the most part. My mum still lives there. I'm deeply embedded in Brixton, So, but yeah, I mean, it had its problems, but at the same time, it was a community, especially on my estate. Everyone looked out for everyone. All the older kids looked out for the younger kids. The parents looked out for other people's kids. I never grew up fearing for my life or being scared I'm going to get shot or anything, despite of all the things that were going on around me, So, I mean, it was tough. It was tough, we didn't have much, but we had love, We all showed love to each other. We all cared for each other. We all took care of each other. And, I mean, I'm proud to say that I'm from Brixton, It's not a thing where I'm ashamed or embarrassed, It's a place that shaped me, and, I'm still tied to the area. So,
I mean, you talked about there being a gang culture there, though, when you were growing up. How easy was it to fall into that, or what kind of kept you away from it, or what was the dynamic in terms of where it sat into relation to where you were hanging out to your friends, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely easy to get involved. I mean, you could be playing in the park and there's people selling drugs, like right outside the park, or there's, incidents happening. It's one of the things where it's just kind of immersed into the area, So it's extremely easy to get involved, and if you're not strong-minded, or if you're easily influenced, you can fall right into it. And unfortunately, a lot of kids growing up, they don't have a stable home environment. Maybe their mum's on drugs, maybe their dad's in jail, older brother's in jail. So, they kind of look to the older boys or look to the streets for that guidance. So. It's easy to say, why are these kids doing this? But a lot of these kids have a story to tell. So, but for me personally, I had really good friends who kept me away. I had my mum. My dad, my mum was separated, but my dad lived maybe like a 10-minute walk away. So he was always involved, and I had a strong home environment where they kept me away, my friends kept me away, and also I had basketball. As the outlet to kind of, how can I put it, to dream, dream beyond Brixton and dream beyond all the stuff that's going on, you know. So, you know, I was fortunate to have that support system around me. So,
how much did that Top Cat set up around the late great Jimmy Rogers? But how much did that take people like yourself who might have gone one way or the other, but that you have this thing, this amazing place that you can go to, this sport that you can do things with and have an outlet and be creative with? I mean, how much of a difference did that make for those people who didn't see it at the time?
You know, it's kind of hard to put it into words. You know, I know for me, you know, every time I was at Brixton Rec or training with the Top Cats, it meant that I wasn't on my estate. You know, getting up to who knows, you know. But it was just that home environment away from home. You know, you said Jim Rogers. You know, he was like the godfather of everything. You know, he treated us all like his kids. You know. And he never turned away anyone, you know. He held us accountable. He was hard on us. He loved us, you know. But he knew that, you know, for us to be successful, he had to be hard on us and he had to push us. And the thing is about Brixton, well, especially when I was at Brixton, a lot of the older players were like mentors. They didn't even know that they were mentors at the time, you know. But they were helping us, supporting us, and they were like the big brothers and the big sisters. So, you know, it was really like a family environment, and it almost became like a place where you didn't want to miss practice, or you didn't want to miss out on that feeling, you know, that environment of feeling wanted and being loved, you know. So it's a special place, man. It's hard to kind of put into words, but I mean, anyone that's played at Brixton growing up, you know, they kind of understand what I'm saying, you know. So
I mean, it's interesting you use the phrase about being held accountable, and I remember recently I spoke to a college coach in the States, and he said that was the biggest change now from 15 years ago. Is a lot of it is they have to try and hold players accountable, but it's not as easy as it was. I mean, do you feel that was one of the biggest pluses is that you had a coach that day after day, and the stories of Jimmy barking at players are legendary, but was prepared to not take any mess from anyone, if I can use a kinder word, and make sure you did what he wanted you to do.
Yeah. You know, Jimmy was hard on us, man. He was, you know, like when you're young, you don't understand like the method to the madness, and I feel like he was like so hard on us, and he pushed us and he motivated us. I feel like because he knew that society was hard, you know. Life is hard, you know. So I feel like he just prepared us to take anything, you know. I mean, I always say if you can play for Jimmy, you can play for any coach. You know, you can deal with any teacher, you know. So, but I mean, at the same time, he gave us that positive reinforcement at the same time, you know. But yeah, man, Jimmy was really, really hard, you know. I mean, I can remember growing up, lots of times going home and like, I hate this guy, man. I'm never going back, and blah 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 blah. And then on a Friday night, you know, I'd be down at the rec. You know, he just had this way of installing that self-belief, you know, that self-confidence, you know, and to me, it's quite unique, you know. Like I've never had that experience from another coach, you know.
Not even Vince.
Well, I'm a grown man now, so it's a different outlook, you know. But Vince is from that, you know. He's from that Brixton Top Cat umbrella too, you know. So you know, a lot of the same values, you know, from Jimmy, you know, he's taken on and he's kept also, you know. So yeah.
Does that, when you're playing now, obviously you said you're a grown man and you've had a fulsome career on the court, but does that, I guess, do you still keep some of those values? I guess even being a parent as well, but you know, does that still sort of sit there and go, yes, I can see how that benefited me then, but I still want to hold on to this?
Most definitely. I mean, there's so many life lessons that I take from being at Brixton and being coached by Jimmy, you know. I mean, the biggest one was just always holding people accountable and holding myself accountable, you know. And like you said, as a parent, you know, obviously my kids are quite young right now, but I've always told myself, when they get a bit older, I'll always be honest with them, always hold them accountable. But at the same time, when I'm wrong, I put my hand up and apologize. So I feel like when you have that sense of truth and honesty with someone, it's more of an organic relationship, and so yeah.
You've had the, I guess, the joy and the benefit of this game taking you to different places in Greece and Cyprus and Ukraine and Sweden. Not always, I guess, perfect experiences, but what's, other than coming back here, or maybe not even other than coming back here, but what's the place that you went to that you went, yeah, if they'd given me a 10-year contract, I'd have stayed? Or was there anywhere?
That's a tough question. There's been a few. I mean, apart from the money situation, I really enjoyed playing in Greece. The country, the food, the weather, the people. But I'd have to say Sweden, to be honest. I was only there for the playoffs, but just as a country, it's a great place. Everyone's so friendly. The streets are clean, very diverse. It was just a place that you could see yourself, staying there long term, raising kids, stuff like that. So I'd have to say Sweden. Sweden was an amazing place. I played for a great organization, met some great teammates, great people. So yeah, I'd have to say Sweden.
And I suppose I can flip that. If there was a place that offered you a 10-day contract tomorrow, where would you not take?
Definitely Ukraine. Definitely
I thought that may be the answer. Yeah,
definitely, hands down Ukraine for sure.
No one I've ever spoken to that's gone there has really liked it. I don't know why. I mean, the money's good.
Yeah,
it's a different culture.
Yeah, the money's really good, but it's just like, they're stuck behind time, and they're still in that Soviet Union Eastern Bloc. No one speaks English. It's the sun doesn't shine. Everyone's in black. To me, it's just really a depressing place. It's not somewhere that I would choose to go back to or take a vacation there. So yeah. I mean,
you weren't there long. I think it was about 5 months or something like that there. But how did you get through that?
Ukraine. I was in Ukraine from August to March. Yeah.
And how do you survive in a place that's that grey?
To be honest, I had some great American teammates that we kind of kept each other level-headed and kept each other motivated. A guy called Anthony Goods and Jared Jones, and we also had another guy, JP Prim. But in a time like that, we just kind of stuck together, man. We made sure that we all hung out with each other. We made sure that every now and then we'll make some food and invite each other over. Plus, my girlfriend was with me at the time too, so she kind of kept me sane, So, but yeah, man, we just stuck together and just rolled it out, man.
I mean, you've had quite a few seasons where you've played a half season somewhere and then gone on a half season to somewhere else. I mean, mentally, how tough is that when you've got to you either leave or you're cut, or you want to get out of a place and then you have to find another job and then you have to turn up really quickly and get adjusted. I mean, how tough is that process for a player to make that hop around?
It's not easy. I'll be honest. It's hard, to go into a team and try to, establish yourself, but at the same time, not kind of mess up the team chemistry or the team morale. But I mean, like you said, sometimes when you leave halfway or 3/4 through the season, most of the time it's always like financial issues, a team not paying or there's something completely messed up. But it's tough. But at the same time, you kind of get used to the whole, packing your stuff and leaving. So after a while, you just get used to it, and you just learn to figure it out on the fly. You can't really sit around and dwell on what happened in the past. You just have to just get on with it, and you go to another team. You do your job, you be a good teammate, and then after a while, the guys will just accept you. So it's hard, but it's part of the business. It's one of those things where you just have to accept.
Let's pause the podcast for just a moment to ask for your help. We'd like to produce more episodes of the MVP cast. That's more conversations and more stories you've not heard before from around the world of basketball. To do that, we'd love your support in becoming a patron. If you value the show, why not pledge a few pounds each month to help keep it going? We'll even give you a shout out as our way of saying thank you. Find out more by going to MVP 24/7, clicking on the podcast page and going to the patron link. Justin Robinson's our guest. You've always been very durable, and if you look at I was looking at the list of games that you've played. There's not been many that you've missed in season. I mean, what's the kind of regime you have, especially now that you're 31 years of age? What's the regime you have to make sure that you don't break down, that you're able to stay in the court as much as you have done?
It's funny you say that because I haven't always been like that. In my third season, I had a bunch of injuries and I missed a bunch of games. But I mean, the last couple of seasons, I've been blessed to be healthy. You know, I haven't had any major injuries. But personally, I don't do anything really special, to be honest. I just try to stretch at home, my foam roll, drink lots of water, try my best to eat right. That doesn't always happen, but yeah.
What's the guilty treat?
I don't know. Probably just like eating my kids' snacks, to be honest.
Do they know this? You snack? That makes it
no,
sound like
no,
you're
no,
snatching
they
them
don't.
off their hands. Yeah.
No, they don't. I go to the kitchen. I just, I sneak it while they're in the living room or somewhere like that. So, but yeah, nothing special or nothing out of the ordinary. Just lots of stretching, lots of foam rolling, and hydration, really, to be honest.
I mean, given that you've got a game that doesn't back down much when you're on the court, I mean, is that something that you're more aware of now that you're in your 30s, that you probably can't go out and eat a pizza, and not that I'm sure you're a 10 pints of lager a night, man, but, to then turn up for practice the next day?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, especially like as you get older, you start to feel the small little injuries, and when you wake up out of bed, your first couple of steps are painful, so, especially as I get older, I'm really trying to just pay more attention to my body, what I eat, what I drink. I'm not a drinker or smoker or someone that goes out partying and stuff like that. So, my body doesn't really see the impact of that. But, I mean, it's just being more aware of your body, as you get older, trying to get in the weight room every now and then, working on your core, stuff like that, a lot of like injury prevention exercises. So yeah, I mean, like you said, that as you get older, your body starts to wear down and father time starts to ring, So, but I mean, for me, I'm gonna try my best to stay healthy and yeah.
And try sort of those. I guess because everyone talks about sleep, don't they? But I suppose the young children, that's not necessarily always the easiest. As I know,
definitely, it's tough, man. It's tough, but I mean that's part of being a parent. That's part of the sacrifice. So that's the life I chose. So I'll take it, man.
Caffeine, I believe that's my answer. You've talked about the game in this country, especially coming back now and being more engaged with it on a day-to-day basis. And you said since 2012, this sport here is worse off than it was. What were you thinking about when you said that?
Worse off. I mean, when I say worse off, in terms of like the BBL or domestic league, I mean, I would say that's gotten a lot better. But I mean, just the whole Olympic thing, they made up this whole big deal about there being a legacy after, and they were going to help community basketball and grassroots, and it just seemed like after the Olympics, all the funding got stopped. There was cuts to this and cuts to that, and it just didn't manifest into what they promised, And I mean, 2012 we had an Olympic team that was extremely strong, a bunch of talented players, NBA guys, high level guys in Europe, and there's been no aftermath of that. There's been no what should I say, man? Like a trickle down effect. So when I say it's gotten worse, I think that's what I mean, to be honest. There's been no legacy, no aftermath of that Olympic team. We might as well have not played in the Olympics. So yeah.
Because you obviously did not making that Olympic team was tough at the time, but it was a great group that went to the
Olympics. For sure.
And then afterwards, we've seen obviously Lowell being the most obvious one, Lowell Deng, who hasn't played since that point. But again, there's that ebbing away of what could have been. That could have been a group, and you might have come into that group again that could have gone on and achieved something spectacular, and suddenly it just died. I mean, a large chunk of that squad left and never came back. And
yeah,
I wonder now when you look back at that, do you think we appreciated just how good that group was?
I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, like you said, if that group would have stayed together, you got Luau, Pops, Joe Freeland, Nate Rankin, you had a bunch of young guys, Andrew Lawrence, Kyle Johnson, Dan Clark, Eric, Andrew Sullivan. I mean, to me, that team can compete with any team in Europe, But I feel like a lot of those guys didn't come back because they weren't happy with the leadership of GB or the way that they were doing things, So I'm sure a lot of guys are probably thinking, why should I sacrifice my own body and my own time, when you people don't even care about, the legacy of basketball in the country, But I mean, that group was extremely talented, and it's a shame that a lot of those guys haven't come back to play for GB, because, there was a lot of potential in that group, and it's a shame, but what can we do, man? What can we do? All we can do is just look to the future, to be honest.
Is that still a frustration for you? Because obviously you came back for a while and then you didn't play in the recent games. I mean, what's your perspective about what you like or don't like about that program now?
To be honest, there's not much that I don't like because it's a new set of people, and these people kind of treat you like you're a human being, I think the group before, they were very about themselves and, what they could get, and they didn't always show the respect to players that they deserved, But the group now with GB, you got guys like Mark Clark, Chris Morris, so some of those guys are involved, those guys are really good, they contact guys throughout the year, they call up, they speak to you like you're a human being, they show you respect as a man. And, to be honest, I don't really have anything bad to say about those guys, My last two stints with GBG were all positive. They brought up my family during my son's birthday. They bought him a gift, it's small little gestures like that mean a lot to the players, So, I've got all positive things to say about them, to be honest.
So will we see you in a GB jersey again?
I mean, if they want me still, I'll be there,
Let's assume they do.
Yeah. If I'm healthy and, the timing's right, I mean, I'll be there definitely. So hopefully in the near future, maybe this upcoming, is it June or July? I'm not sure.
August, the next day.
August, yeah.
Last chance pre-qualifiers.
Okay.
It's sort of the meaningful vote 3 of basketball Eurobasket qualifiers. Succeed.
Yeah.
When you look now with your kids, would you say you would steer them towards basketball if they came to you and said, "I want a sport to play. What should I do?"
I don't know. Well, my son, he's 3 and he's basketball crazy. He lives, eats, and sleeps basketball. So I'm sure he's made his mind up. But I mean, if they came to me and said, "What sport?" I'd probably say basketball. It's given me a great life. I've traveled around the world and met some great people. Free education. Made some good money while playing. So I'll definitely push them in that direction, and I'll offer all the help that they need or that they want. Using my connects or my own experience and my knowledge.
Would you hope, I mean, obviously Jimmy's sadly no longer with us, but would you hope there's a setup there that you could find for him? Or how confident would you be that there's a setup there that would nurture someone like your son in the same way that you find?
It's hard now. It's hard because, especially in London, there's so many clubs and, it's quite saturated. There's just clubs all over, like when I was growing up, all you had was Brixton, you had Hackney White Heat, East London, Ealing, and London Towers. It was all like community based, and all the kids from that region of London, that part of London, they went to those clubs. Whereas now it's just you got 100 clubs, and it just doesn't seem or feel the same, in terms of that family environment. But I mean, the Brixton Top Cats is still up and running. It's still going strong. There's still loads of kids going down there, and for me, I would send him to Brixton, and see how he likes it. If he doesn't like it, then we can find somewhere else. But I'm sure he would like it, because he's already familiar with the people down there. He's part of that Brixton family already. So yeah, I'd say Brixton Top Cats, to be honest.
Once a Top Cat, always a Top Cat.
Always, man.
Last couple of things. I mean, obviously, you came back for both to be closer to family because the league was good enough. I guess the money was good enough as well. But yeah, you always said you wanted to start looking beyond basketball. What for you will be that life beyond playing in a few years' time?
I mean, I'm not 100% certain, but something to do with helping kids or young adults, mentoring, whether it's kids involved in gangs, kids dealing with, hard home situations or mental health, homelessness, just something that involves helping kids in I wouldn't even say my community, I would say in the whole of London. I can't just narrow it down to the Brixton area or South London area, but just something helping kids, young adults, just trying to help them and maybe use basketball as a tool to kind of, push them down the positive road instead of, letting them go down the road of gangs or drug abuse or crime, So, I mean, I'm not actually sure how I'm going to go about it in terms of trying to get into that field, but, it's something that I'm definitely passionate about, and I can see that being my calling in life. So,
do you think?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
The perk from that is the experiences you've got. I mean, to make sure that it's not lost in a way to all this knowledge that you've gained from growing up, from playing, from being overseas, being at home. I mean, it strikes me as it would be a shame for you if you weren't able to put that to some good use.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I feel like I have a lot of knowledge of life experiences, to give to these kids. And I feel like at the same time, I come from that environment that they come from, so I can relate to what most of them are going through, the whole pressures of society, peer pressure from your friends or from your family members, I've been through all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm hoping that there's some way or somehow I can get into that field, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'll just keep trying, or maybe look to go about it in a different way. But yeah, I mean, it would be great to pass on, my experiences. Like you said, growing up, being in Europe, being in the States. I feel like I have a lot of stories, a lot of life lessons to show them. So.
I'll finish up with this, and you mentioned friends there, because your very good friend beat you a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure he's not quoted by Matthew Bryan Ammoning. And you guys play again this week, and obviously you after the trophy final, the Lions beat them again. You beat the Royals. Now you go back at it again. What's it been like for you two facing each other on court, knowing that how close you are off it, and you haven't played each other that many times? So how much fun or not fun has that been?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's just fun. I mean, it means a little bit more, when you beat one of your good friends. You get the bragging rights and, that stuff that you can joke about after the season. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, it's intense. I mean, me and Matthew have probably had more intense scrimmages down at the rec, going against each other or playing one-on-one growing up, But like I said, it's a fun thing just to be a part of, Obviously, I'm on one side, he's on the other side. But at the same time, when the game is done, we're still boys off the court. It's nothing personal. It's nothing that carries over off the court or after the game. This is one of them things where you want to beat one of your good friends, and losing in the trophy final, it's something that he's probably going to have over my head for a while. So, we just got to make sure that we take care of business. Well, we play them next week, in 2 weeks. We just got to make sure that we take care of business in the next game. And then, if we meet them in the playoffs or in the playoff final, we'll see how it goes.
But you'll be able to show them that league title medal. I think
of course,
that top jumps
most definitely. Yeah. But still, it still hurts, losing one of those potential cups or trophies.
He did say when he came on this podcast a while ago that he would like to play with you at some point. Is that going to be an attractive proposition for you before you hang up your boots, whether it's in one side of London or the other, or maybe somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to play with Matthew. Obviously, we grew up playing with each other as juniors, and then as juniors, we played on the men's teams together. But I mean, I feel like it would be great for the kids down at Brixton too, and that would be something that Jimmy would have loved. I'm sure if he would have ever had the chance to see us play together, he would have been smiling in his chair. But I mean, we'll see what happens. As of now, I'm comfortable in my situation. I'm sure he's happy where he is. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But as of now, I'm comfortable. Things are going smooth here. So we just have to wait and see, I guess.
So from taking that, what we'll see is the two of you, aged 39, playing one last season in the NBL for the Top Cats. Lou All will come back. You rope a few other guys in, and it'll just be one more season for the road.
Yes, for sure.
That would
Amen
be fun
to that.
watch. That would be fun to watch. Well, Justin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the MVP cast. Thank you so much for joining us, and continued success this season in the BBL.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin. Every edition of the MVP cast available to download via your preferred podcast provider. Check out the previous editions via our website. Just head to mvp247.com, where you'll also get all the latest news from the world of British basketball. A new MVP cast coming very soon. But from me, Mark Woods, it's bye for now.